Dale Hollow Lake, a place great for fishing, camping, and playing on the water. Miles and miles of open water just waiting to be explored. Away from the rest of the crowded world, you can relax in pure nature. But just underneath the surface lies a dark history. A history filled with betrayal, sacrifice, and selfishness. From the late 1700s to the early 1900s, the town of Willow Grove was a very well-populated and successful town. It even had the largest school in the area. Unfortunately, all that effort would be destroyed in what seemed like an instant. To find out more, I met with author and historian Darren Shell. Darren has written multiple books about his time here and the history of Willow Grove.
Well, I know when it happened, and I know how the people felt, because I've interviewed several of them and talked with several of them, and it was quite a shock to them to come home and find a note on their doorstep that said, "You're moving, and your town's going to be flooded, and we're going to make a reservoir." I can only imagine what it would be like to sense that, because you don't just move a town. I mean, you're moving people, you're moving churches, schools, and cemeteries, and memories. I'm not sure if I would be particularly sad or particularly mad. I would probably be both.
The government destroyed farms, houses, businesses, and graves to build a dam, which seems ironic for a flooded town, but the flood wasn't natural. The government flooded it to create a lake.
This place was built just in case during World War II as a power supply in case our grids got knocked down electrically and we could have a place to make power to make the bombs in war.
Even with a reason, the people felt truly betrayed and disregarded by the people they looked up to, the people that were supposed to protect them. But where did it all start? Well, Willow Grove started as a settlement founded by 5 families, one of which was the Irons family. It is said to have been purchased from the Cherokee tribe that lived there. One of the Irons' children was Eddie Irons, who had troubles even after death.
Eddie Irons is probably the most famous of the Dale Hollow stories, and it starts back about 1800, over 200 years ago. His big story was that on his 18th birthday, he had enjoyed riding horses with the Cherokee Indians, because the Cherokee Indians were still here then. That was his enjoyment back then, was to ride horses with the Cherokee. And on his birthday, his family had purchased a horse for him that was not yet broken. And he decided that he was positively going to ride his horse on his birthday. And as his family watched, he jumped on, and the horse finally did take off, and it ran top speed into a large grove of walnut trees, and Eddie's head struck one of the low limbs, and it killed him instantly. And he was buried right out behind me, and he was actually dug up 2 or 3 times during the making of Willow Grove schools over the years. There was a number of schools that every time they got bigger, they would scrape off the soil and manage to find this walnut casket made out of the same tree that so innocently took Eddie's life. And they would just simply dig him a little deeper and bury him a little bit deeper each time. And the last time, when they were building the biggest school within many miles, they literally just put the casket right in the concrete and buried him for the 3rd and final time, they thought, until the Corps came along and they were demolishing buildings and moving graves, and poor Eddie was both. So they dynamited that big rock, but it didn't break. So Eddie's out there with us still to this day, beneath the waves.
Nowadays, Willow Grove and Dale Hollow Lake is known as a lively vacation spot for some, home to others, but as a hidden historical landmark to all who come here.
I feel like it's a big deal that people understand that it's not just a body of water that we can go play on. And in my sentimental views, I remembered the people that had to give up their home just so we had this wonderful body of water. So I think it's important that people realize that it's not just a place to play. There's many more things involved, and many families that to this day come back with tears in their eyes. But this was home. This was our church, this was our school, this was our farm, our homestead, this was our life. And we had little or no choice but to leave. And they did. So when I dangle my feet in the water, I think about those people.
I think I chose a profession where I would be able to help as many people as I can. Hello everyone, my name is Officer Samuel Beatty and I am a Brentwood police officer. I've been a police officer for 35 years now, and it is a career that has been very fulfilling and very rewarding up to this very day. Becoming a police officer, I think it was an awesome opportunity for me to be able to help people one-on-one, face-to-face. Coming to do my job is a joy to get up and go do my job every day because I know I have another opportunity to try to do some good. I applied to become one of the city of Brentwood's DARE officers. DARE stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education. I hold every certification that a DARE officer can hold. Officer Wood and I were partners for 20 years. I don't think that there has been another partnership of that length within the history of this department. He's my brother from another mother. I mean, he and we have done so much together over all those years. You just grow close and there's a trust. And when he retired, I literally felt like somebody lopped off my left arm. What am I going to do? Mark is not here. He told me, he said, man, you got this. You got this, Sam. And I was like, okay, maybe I do, maybe I do. I think of Bella, she is such like a prized student of mine.
So I met Officer Beatty in 5th grade in DARE class.
I was able to teach Bella in elementary school, middle school at Brentwood Middle School, and also at Brentwood High. And then Bella kept in contact with me when she went off to college. She would come back in town for the holidays. She would always stop by and visit me. She's one of those people that is very dear to me because I've known her for so long and I've known her family. Bella is just one of those young people that really, really took to the DARE program, and I knew right away as our relationship grew across that 10 weeks that we were together that she would tell me, Officer Beatty, I don't want to have anything to do with drugs, this, that, and the other. Well, she's one of those students that have kind of lived that out loud. And one of the cool things I like about these relationships is not all of my students may have the same track record that Bella has. But they would say, me talking to you meant so much to me. It just changed what I was maybe about to do.
First did RAD in 2016 with my mom. Did it a year later with my best friend, and then I was like, I really like this. I want to be an instructor. And they were like, we would really like to have a female do it with us.
To explain the RAD program, first of all, RAD is an acronym. It stands for Rape Aggression Defense.
The whole point of RAD is to give you guys what we call like a toolkit of different things you can use, and also more so to avoid ever being in a situation.
With RAD, we want people to learn certain physical skills that they can use in times of emergency situations.
That can be anything from someone pulling you back down on the couch to blocking the door to locking you in or restraining your free will to move.
There are skills that are very basic that anyone can use that can help you to be able to, like I say, to defend yourself against an attacker. At the City of Brentwood, we offer RAD classes several times throughout the year. These classes are free to any women who want to sign up. And sadly enough to say, we won't be teaching Rad Kids anymore, or Rad for Seniors, or Rad for Men, or Advanced Rad, because I hold all of those certifications and I'm the only officer who does.
Everything he's done in his career is to honor somebody else in his family. And like, he has a connection to everything he's done.
But my brother, being how he was, very strong-willed, going to do things his way, he decided to put that super intelligence of his to use, starting a business for himself. And his business was not a legitimate business. His business was, he wanted to sell marijuana. His business became very successful that he rivaled the other top marijuana drug dealer in our hometown. And this particular person saw my brother as a threat to their business and had my brother pretty much murdered in a nightclub. You know, had some guys pick a fight with him, which my brother wasn't going to take anyone messing with him that way, and these guys pretty much shot him dead. And he died at 22 years old. You know, kind of a sad situation. But seeing what happened to him, sort of feeling like justice was not really played out to its fullest, I wanted to make sure that for people who were in that line of work, being a drug dealer, that I wanted to make sure that those people were going to be dealt with, that they were going to be found out, that they were going to be punished. So I became an undercover narcotics officer and was able to buy drugs, sell drugs, and pretend to manufacture drugs in order to build up relationships with drug dealers in such a capacity that they would trust me, and that would garner them selling me more and more, which led to us arresting them and getting those individuals off the street and hopefully out of mainstream society. February the 11th will be my last day as a Brentwood police officer. So after 35 years of being a police officer, I am ready. I am ready to do something different.
It is a bittersweet thing, like good for him. He's been doing this for 30 years.
I will say, gosh, the vast majority of my experience as a law enforcement officer, they've been positive. I have had a full career.
I think it's going to be a huge loss for our community, to be honest.
To walk away from this job, I leave it feeling very good.
In 1984, it was the 50th anniversary of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and our general manager at the station, WBIR, wanted us to do a program to commemorate that 50 years. And he came to me and said, would you create and produce this program? And it was to run 6 months, and it was to tell stories about the mountains. It became very much a popular audience program, and it ended up running for 25 years instead of 6 months because the audience was really interested in the stories that we told. And it became an important element for the station's brand, if you will, for what the station said to people. It always struggled to be financially as profitable as management wanted it, but at the same time, they had to realize it was a great vehicle for audience development. People learned to love it, wanted to see it. It ran at the strangest times that people weren't expecting, little 5-minute shows. But we did initially 2 new shows a week. Eventually we just did 1 new show a week because the workload was really difficult when we cut down our field producers. And the audience just wanted it. I mean, all the research we ever did, because I was also the marketing director along with the creative services director. It was what the station was famous for. Now, obviously, you're famous for news people too, and news and weather and things like that. But this was an odd little thing that had popped up that it made a really important part of what the station was to the audience. It was really about the stories of the people that came out, that they opened themselves up to our cameras, and that they were willing to share their life in a really meaningful way that was somewhat unexpected by what we thought were reticent mountain people who weren't known for talking. One of my most favorite episodes came about very early when we came up on the recording of a man named Wiley Oakley, who had been an interesting fellow that lived in Gatlinburg, and he was very familiar with the mountains. And he had left a recording because he was a fantastic storyteller. He left a story that was just long enough with editing to fit in our short window that we had to tell a story. And he tells about his marriage. The name of that episode is The Cow Barn. We shot it. I didn't go on the shoot. There were people to do that. But we talked about what we wanted to accomplish. And we got 2 people from the station to play the roles. And it came together in one day of shooting. And we edited it. And his storytelling, which was the recording we had, I thought was just magical combined with the video.
When I got to go to Harlan into a coal mine, and we were shooting just a day in the life of a coal miner, and they'd gone in as far into the mountain, and they were coming back out, and what they do is they let part of the mine that they've already gone into, they want that to collapse so it'll relieve the pressure on where they're working. And here we are shooting. They said, you'll be safe here because it's going to stop. They knew where it's going to stop. There was an intersection, and the mine shaft right here, and we were right here, and they said, it's going to stop right here where these 2 shafts meet. And so we said, okay, well, and as it started, the roof started to collapse, I was shooting, and all of a sudden, all these coal miners who'd been in the mines for years and years, they started running by us. And I thought that was a little odd, but it stopped right where they said it was going to stop. Afterwards, when it all the dust cleared, we asked the fellows, why were y'all running? And they said, well, we knew it's supposed to stop where we said it was going to stop. But sometimes it doesn't stop there. It keeps on going. We thought, well, that would have been good to know before we started shooting.
The people that we told the stories about became famous in their communities because they were on the show. And they got to share a part of their history which was fascinating, but perhaps they hadn't shared. And so they became sort of famous in their own right. And then it meant a lot to the audience to know that the life that their grandparents had lived, which was significantly different than their lives, big culture change in between one generation and the next. And so the preceding generation didn't share a lot of the way their lives were and how difficult it was. And, many of the generation before me rode horses and farmed for a living and were subsistence farmers and never worked for a wage. They worked to eat. And so that didn't get shared a lot with my generation, just casually. And so when this show comes along, television show comes along and starts telling those stories, to the audience it becomes an awakening to the past that they may not have known about. And that's, I think, what made the audience embrace it was their past, it was new to them, and they loved the stories that were told. I was always happy that I got to do it because I felt like it told the story of my parents. And that became the most important thing to me in the end, was that a population, Southern Appalachia was not known for much except perhaps poverty. And when we were able to tell richer stories of their life, whether it be music or folkways or herb medicines and other facets that are fascinating. It gave me a richer understanding of my parents' life. And in the end, you know, you want to have a sense of accomplishment. And I think before my parents died, they both believed that I had done a good thing with that show. That they initially didn't know what to think of an East Tennessee hillbilly that goes into television. What kind of job is that? And ultimately, when that show came on, and I gave them videotapes, you know, we created videotapes and DVDs, which we sold. They watched it and relished seeing it, and that was important to me. In any production, the most intense and ultimately memorable events are at the beginning, when you have assembled a staff that's not done this before, you've not done this before, and you're all on the learning curve going up. That's always so exciting to see what it takes to get things done, to see that you can do what you plan to do, for everybody to get on board. And I think, to the person, the Heartland Series production team relished every moment that they were in that show, because it was hard, it was long days, hard hikes, physically difficult, mentally taxing to get that show cranked out. But in the end, you are so glad you got the opportunity to do it.
Nashville, the birthplace of country and home of countless aspiring musicians. The streets are always filled with music, with no shortage of live performances of every kind. Everywhere you look, you'll find talent. Just outside the city, here in Brentwood, you'll find it's no different. 4 singer-songwriters, students at Brentwood High, speak on their experience in the world of music to give us a deeper look.
When I write music, I like to pull inspiration from anything that can happen in the world, you know, from other people's struggles to my own struggles.
There are a lot of things that inspire me to write music because I've seen what music can do for people. Music can be the main reason that a moment happens, or that you get over something, or that you feel better. So I'm inspired every day to be able to create those moments for other people, and just because making music's the best.
Sometimes I'll just get ideas in the middle of the night and it'll wake me up, and I always have a notebook by my bed so I can just write them down and not forget them. Some of them don't even pertain to me, some of them do. Songs can range from like actually pulling it out of my own life, or just thinking that, hey, someone in the world might need to hear this. I'm inspired to write music, honestly, by my own personal experiences and feelings, and the things in the world going on around me and how those things affect me. The process is really simple, to be honest. I either sit down at my piano or I pick up my guitar.
I've tried so many different writing process strategies because there are tons of them, and why not? Start with the progression, start with a melody, find them together, start with a lyrical hook, start with a drum beat, a bass line.
My writing process is always kind of different, but it revolves around the same kind of step of writing the music out just as lyrics without any instrumentals, and then bringing that story that I've created and putting a piano or a guitar behind it. Now, recording takes a lot longer than writing. It usually takes, you know, anywhere from 7 to 10 hours because I have to record vocals and then overlay it with instrumentals and different background vocals and harmonies and everything, and then we master it all together.
Typically, when I start recording a song, I'll start with the bones of it. So usually that's just me with an acoustic singing the song, usually to a tempo so I can add to it later. Primarily, I'm a drummer, so I'll stick a drum beat on there second probably, or I'll go on splice, which is basically just this array of thousands of samples of any kind, but a lot of drum loops. So I'll throw on just like random drum loops to see if any of them inspire me.
I had this recording platform on my computer called Logic, and you can plug in a MIDI cord and like lay down keys, but you can change it in the computer to sound like an orchestra or like a violin or a guitar.
When it comes to music production, you use a DAW, which is a digital audio workstation, and there are tons of them, but I use Ableton. And you can have a DAW and still make crappy sounding recordings. So what you need is a good microphone, depending on what you're recording. So if you're singing, if you're playing an acoustic guitar track, or you're recording acoustic drums, you're gonna need different mics for all of that. And then something else that's really important is your audio interface, which I like to think of it as a language translator. So you're taking analog sound, so an original organic instrument, and you're translating it into zeros and ones into the computer in a waveform.
When I produce my music, I can either do it by myself just in my house, or I can go to a studio. When I go to the studio, we hire other people to come in and play the instruments that I cannot. And when I do it at my house, I have all of the creative liberties.
I think what I love most about it is I feel like what I have to say has power, and it can reach people from literally like Brazil. Like, it's crazy seeing how many places across the world gets to hear music and how it can help other people. And I don't do it because it's about me. It's not about me. It's about the lyrics and like the power that I think music has to heal people.
Releasing music is the most fun part of the process to me, because I get to take this story that I've created and kind of articulate and just hope for the best reactions from everybody that gets to listen to it.
I sometimes share my stuff. I don't really release it because everything I write is very personal to me, and it means a lot to me. And I'm almost a little scared of sharing it with the world and getting laughed at sometimes, because it's hard to be vulnerable in front of everyone.
I think it's really cool how easy it is to release music nowadays, because so many people can do it. And it's just such a powerful feeling being able to put your story out into the world and wait and see who finds it. You know, there's 70 different countries of people that have heard my music, and that's insane.
So hard to relate to anybody my own age. My streaks are broken, but too bad they got nothing to say. Anticlimactic, this summer sucked. Yeah. Don't get me started, don't get me started, don't get me started, don't get me, don't.
I think music has made me a better person. It genuinely heals me and inspires me and gives me a place to be myself and not be afraid of what anybody's thinking, because I can have music just for me, or I can have music that I want to share with the world, and it just makes me feel alive.
Music hasn't just affected my life, it is my life. Music is the reason that I live in the state that I live in. It's the reason that I'm actually a happy person.
Let me do it again, I can make it really good.
It's the reason that I feel like I can express myself to people. Music is literally the reason that I'm alive. That's how it affects me.
Music affects my life in many ways every single day, but in general, I don't think I would be here and where I am in terms of my career and everything if I had not started playing piano when I was 6. And let me tell you, that was not a willing thing to do. My mom put me in piano lessons and I suffered through it, and I eventually grew to love it so much. And I just kept progressing and learning new instruments and other things like writing and you know, opera and things like that. And I am where I am today, and I really have my hopes and dreams for the future because of music. I'm very thankful for that.
I plan on continuing music for the rest of my life. I would like to be able to go to college for music sometime in the future and pursue a music business plan or degree to some extent.
I do plan to continue making music. Whether it's original or not is Not really sure. I think I will always write music as a form of therapy and as a form of just relaxation as some kind of thing. But ultimately I will be a opera singer and opera performer, so I will never stop singing.
I'm never going to stop making music. I plan on continuing in this field forever. And even if nothing happens with my artistry, I'll still write songs with people. I'll still play drums for people. I'll still record music for people. You know, for my whole life, I've been trying to just give myself as many options as possible to work in as many aspects of this field that I can, so that I don't have to be in any other industry to make a living.
I definitely plan to continue making music in the future. I don't think I want to be an artist. I'm not really sure that's for me, but something I would love to do is going to songwriting or look into being a producer and being able to work with other artists to help them achieve their dreams.
Whilst each artist is different, they all hold one thing in common: their love of music. Brentwood and its musicians have so much to offer to the music world, and so can you. James Gill, WBHS 9.
Charlie Reynolds is a country music singer out of Orlando, Florida. Every weekend, Charlie performs at Miranda Lambert's Casa Rosa. We interviewed her about her journey to becoming a top name in Nashville.
So I moved to Nashville in 2018. I decided between moving here and doing music and moving to Alabama, to go to University of Alabama, to be a news broadcaster. And at the end of the day, I just decided that college is something that's always there, and music is something that I need to do now if I'm going to do it. So I just moved 2 weeks after graduating high school, and I've been here. I'm on my 4th year, so a little over 3 years now.
Her family has been one of her biggest support groups that have been by her side the whole way.
Fortunately, my parents were very supportive. My whole family, honestly, is very supportive of me being here. And I'm very lucky to have that, because I know that not everyone has that support system that I have. And I honestly don't know how I would do it if they weren't supportive of me, because that's half of the reason why I'm here and why I keep going, is because of their support that they give me and coming to my shows and sharing my posts and everything like that.
Singing isn't something Charlie's new to, because she's been singing her whole life.
I've been singing for as long as I can remember, ever since I was like 5. I used to be into like Broadway musicals and like Hairspray and Legally Blonde, like all those musicals and stuff. And then Taylor Swift became a thing. I really liked Taylor Swift, and that kind of brought me over into country music. And I've just really been doing it as long as I can remember, singing in like talent shows growing up and stuff like that.
Charlie also won a Hollywood Music and Media Award back in 2019.
So I've won one award. I flew out to LA in 2019. I won a Hollywood Music and Media Award in LA for Best in Country. That award was super awesome because I've never won anything ever, no contests, nothing, so it was like really awesome.
She's faced many challenges in her career, but believes the hardest part is rejection.
The hardest part of my career so far would probably just be rejection, constant rejection from things, it seems like. I've auditioned for all the TV shows, American Idol, The Voice, and all of that, and well, I've gotten some yeses along the way through those trials of those shows because there's different levels, but you know, eventually, y'all have never seen me on any of those shows, so it was rejection.
There's a hole in the bottle, leaking all this wine. It's already empty and it ain't even supper time. I know I don't miss him. In fact, it slipped my mind. There's a hole in the bottle.
Although many artists don't want a record deal, Charlie said she wants one.
I do want a record deal. That is one thing that I know some people are for and some people are against. I would not just sign any record deal. I would wait till the perfect opportunity and deal comes along, because you never know what, you know, that deal entails, and you have to really read the fine print, because it could either make or break you. I definitely want one that would make my career better, but with the resources of, you know, a team and a marketing team and the record label, there's just a lot more opportunities than there are as an independent artist that you can get to quicker and easier.
She feels following through with her dream is her biggest accomplishment.
I'd say my biggest accomplishment that I feel that I've made is just actually being here and performing every weekend. That's something that has taken me 3 years to be able to do.
She has many goals for her career, both short-term and long-term.
I have so many goals for my career, goals that I see in 6 months and goals that I see in 5 years. Some of those big 5-year goals that I have would be winning a CMA award, singing at the Grand Ole Opry, that's a big one for me, or the Ryman, the Grand Ole Opry at the Ryman.
They ask me where it's going, but I can't even find the hole in the bottle of wine.
Our mission is to see love and dignity rehabilitate inmates and to give people with disabilities greater independence. We do that through training service dogs with inmate trainers during the week, and then sending them out to furlough volunteers on the weekends so that they can be socialized.
Volunteers go into this because we want to help people and because we love the dogs, but seeing at the graduation the impact these dogs are having on the lives of the recipients was just so moving.
It's just amazing and rewarding to just hear of the very real, tangible, and moving impact that one dog can have on a person, their families, their lives, their ability to do things.
My name is Amanda Dietrich, and I have been a furlough volunteer with Retrieving Independence for about 2 years now.
My name is Susan Rohleder. I am a furlough volunteer with Retrieving Independence, and I have been with them for 3 years.
My name is Lauren Dougal. I'm the CEO of Retrieving Independence since January of 2022.
I got involved because I got invited to go pet puppies. And they would allow you to sign up for 2 hours, and you could go sit in a pen with 8 puppies and just let them love on you.
I got involved with Retrieving Independence because my son was looking for a community service project for Boy Scouts. We've had Ripley, who is a black lab, and we saw her from the beginning until she graduated from the program. We had Genji, and Genji was a golden doodle. The dog that we're working with now, her name is Ella, and she is just so incredibly smart, and they are all very smart dogs, all very persistent dogs, good at solving tasks, but I mean, she is just so sharp even at a very young age.
So I had a transformational experience with my very first rescue dog. His name was Otto. He had very, very severe anxiety and fear, but we were very committed to working with him. He did improve. He had a really wonderful version of his life with us. Ultimately, we lost Otto very suddenly and tragically almost 3 years ago to this day, and that moment in my life was just a really pivotal time where I thought this is going to shape my life in a different way, where there's not going to be another moment where I'm not doing something with animals.
We train the puppies for the first 4 weeks of their lives, and then they go to the prison. It's always kind of scary because we are like, oh my gosh, they're going to prison. But the prisoners say the same thing. Every time the dogs leave the prison, they're worried we're not taking care of their dog. They become very involved with these dogs. And we are not necessarily a trainer, we're a reinforcer. So the prisoners actually train the dogs and we reinforce what they train. They give us assignments when the dogs come out for their furloughs, and then we take that and take it out into the real world.
And we've almost made it through, and we're going to make it through together.
And we did a service at church.
Take them to prison, you get them out of prison. Tell me about that.
I always become emotional because I feel like these dogs have the opportunity to do so much. And my pastor's always laughing and saying the dogs are kind of like the selfless, person, and kind of like Jesus was a little bit. Put it in the basket. At the end, once you have a dog that's going to graduate, which not all dogs do, we have what's called graduation. And that's where the recipients have spent a full week in a hotel with a dog and learned all the ins and outs of them. And you, at the end, get to come and watch them graduate. I cry every time, but it's so great. And that's the end of the story for you, but the beginning for them, because they say after the first couple of weeks that their lives are changed for the best.
The dogs have just brought so much joy to our family, and people ask me sometimes, is it hard when the dog goes with the recipient? And it's not. I mean, they do become like a member of your family and we love them, but it feels so great knowing that they're going to be with someone who really needs them.
So my name is Nicole Martin. I'm 29 years old. I'm a recipient of Retrieving Independence. I was paired in July of 2019. So I've got something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a joint issue, and it causes your joints to slip out of place, and it can cause issues walking and different things. So Chance helps stabilize me as I'm walking. So she's got a big harness with a metal pole around it that helps brace me. For the medical alert side of her, she helps me. I've got something called POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia, where when I stand up, I will faint sometimes. So what she does is a dog's nose is very strong. So if I'm standing and I don't realize that my blood pressure is going kind of wonky, she'll sense it prior to that, and she will boop me or hit my leg a couple times, and then she'll spin around twice. And that's her saying, hey mom, you need to sit down. Chance has changed my life completely. So like I said before, I wasn't as mobile, I wasn't going out and doing a whole bunch of stuff, whereas now Chance has given me the confidence to go out on my own, as well as she just kind of gives me that reassurance that I'm not alone. I know I was never alone because I had family and friends and everything, but just having that constant companion there to know she's got my back for if anything medical happens and that I don't know, she will alert me and she will give me the necessary assistance that I needed.
I have so many memories, and my whole family does, because it really is a family effort, of being with them and seeing them accomplish tasks like flushing a toilet. I mean, we always like to joke even our kids can't remember how to do that or figure that out. But the dogs do, and they're such incredible learners. It's a significant amount of investment of time by a lot of people, but it's also giving people independence. I mean, hence the name Retrieving Independence. And after you meet some of these recipients and they tell you, they can now go out on their own to appointments and go to the doctor, go get their shopping done. I mean, the mundane things that we don't even think about, fortunately, but it means everything to them. And I can see that it's worth every bit.
2003, our founder, Beth Scruggs, started with one swimmer. Her name is Tori, and she has a disability, and she couldn't find anybody to teach her to swim. So Beth started just with Tori teaching her to swim, and then some of Tori's friends heard about Beth, so they kind of just started organically, and then they had a little group of people and they started a swim team. The mission is to teach people with special needs how to swim, and they agreed that they would never ever charge our participants. So what started out was just one swimmer. We now have 95 people on our swim team, and then right now we have 154 people in our Learn to Swim program. So we have our future dolphins, who are really beginner swimmers, and then our junior dolphins, who are a little more advanced. And the hope is that the junior dolphins will then move up to swim team. I think what makes me most passionate is just seeing what our swimmers can do. And really, I think it's just so important because the disabilities community, especially as people get older, there's not a lot of activities for them to do. And I mean, the number one cause of accidental death in people with special needs is drowning. So it's really important that we drown-proof our community, but it's also amazing exercise. It gives them friends, it gives them a team, it gives the parents support. It's really, really amazing.
So my daughter Ainsley is 14 years old, and she's been involved with the Dolphins for 5 or 6 years, and it has really helped her find some peers that are like her, as well as gain confidence in the water and out. It gives her something to participate in and be proud of.
Every single time I did it, I was just like, my heart was filled up, and it just like made me smile, so I never wanted to stop. It's just, the joy everybody here has, and I love watching their progress when they first jump in the pool to, like, after a few years when they're able to swim hundreds on their own. It's awesome.
Our main need is we need to build a pool. So right now we rent pool space from many different places. We have about over 250 people on our waiting list. We have people that call every day that want their children to learn how to swim, and they just can't find anybody. So right now we serve over 11 counties in Tennessee. So people drive from everywhere for a 30-minute swim lesson or for an hour of swim practice. So it is our ultimate goal to raise enough money to build a pool. And then ultimately, I would think it would be amazing. From what I know, we're the only program like this in the country that does not charge its participants anything. So my ultimate dream would be for there to be dolphins all over the world, so everybody could learn how to swim. Our swim team, we compete in Special Olympics. Next summer in Orlando, they're having the USA Games, which is like the special, it's like the Olympics of Special Olympics. And so it's going to be in Orlando, and 2 Nashville Dolphins were chosen. 2 of our boy swimmers were chosen. There's going to be 4 men and 4 women from the state of Tennessee. So 2 of the men are Nashville Dolphins, and then I was chosen to represent Team Tennessee as one of the 2 swim coaches. So I'm really excited that I get to go to Orlando next summer and coach.
Senior Jake Rock.
There is no time to waste. I've got that lightning inside me.
And a blocked shot by Jake Brock.
My favorite memory with the football field on the team was going to the state championship my junior year, and senior year was winning on senior night with the team.
I have two favorite memories of Jake Brock on the football team. One is a personal memory of after we lost to Summit to fall to 1-3. He was having a really tough time, and I remember I talked to him in the weight room after that, just discussing, like we talked about earlier, continuing to have a positive attitude, continue to do the right things, continue to enjoy the game of football even when you're not winning, right? Because if you're only enjoying it when you win, then you're not really loving the game, and you're not really loving being with your teammates, because like a lot of things in life, high school football doesn't last forever. Probably my favorite on the field memory of Jake Brock was against Ravenwood when they completed a long pass down the middle of the field, and Jake wasn't even his area, but he saw the ball, ran over and just knocked the ball out of the Ravenwood receiver's hands at the last moment, and that was just a very Jake Brock play because he kind of went above and beyond of what he was supposed to do.
The legacy I want to leave behind to the upcoming students is to just work hard every day and push yourself to be the best that you can be every day.
Well, I think first of all, Jake stood out from the rest of the team in a lot of ways, and at the same time, we have great kids in Brentwood. I think when you're at Brentwood, you kind of lose sight of what it's like at other places, but our kids are all hard workers and they're positive attitude. I just think that Jake Brock is kind of that Brentwood football player just elevated, and I think that he goes above and beyond in terms of understanding of the defense and his work ethic. And so I guess I would say if I had to really bear down on it, it's his knowledge of football and how hard he works at that. From when I first met Jake to now and how my opinion has changed, honestly, it hasn't really changed a ton. I had a really high impression of him to start, and he's only continued that. He obviously got better as a football player, and he grew as a person, and now I have him in class, I guess, is maybe a big difference. So, it's awesome that he's this great athlete and great leader in the school, and he also works hard in class. I would describe Jake Brock's personality as being a perfectionist in the best way, that he always wants to be good at what he does, and unfortunately for him, he's similar to me in that he also overthinks a lot, but that's also what makes him special and makes him stand out.
I'm going to play college and football somewhere, but I haven't decided yet.
Do I think Jake Brock has the talent to make it to the NFL? I would say he's got the talent, but where he'd be struggling is he's vertically challenged, which is the euphemistic way of saying he's not very tall. So that would be in his way, but I do think if he ever wanted to be part of professional football in any way, from a coaching standpoint, I think he definitely has the talent to do that.
The best coach I've had in my football career was probably Coach Crawford and Coach Kane. They were both my defensive coordinators, and I played defense. So just having them around is teaching me everything I know today and making me better every day really helped.
First thought I had when I met Jake Brock, he was a freshman, and it was my first year here, so he was going to help quarterback the freshman and JV team for us, even though he wasn't a quarterback. So my first thought is he's the consummate coach's kid, because he's really respectful and he's willing to do whatever needs to be done to help the team.
The darkest moment in my football career was probably being 1-4 at the beginning of my senior year. It was really hard, but the team stayed together and we worked hard every day, and we ended up having a winning record and making the playoffs. So.
Jake Brock's biggest challenge is also probably this year. We started 0-3 and 1-4, and he had never experienced losing like that. And I hope and I think that he learned that there are some things out of our control, and that being a champion doesn't just mean you win every game. Being a champion is the way you go about practice, the way you interact with your teammates, the way you try to get better, the way you have a positive attitude. So I think it was really hard for him to experience that, but I think this season allowed him the opportunity to grow, and he was a big part in us turning it around and winning 6 or 7 straight, whatever we won.
The person who supported me the most throughout football has been my dad. He's with me all the time, and we talk every day, and he's been with me every step of the way. Having my dad as a coach was really fun. We got to spend a lot of time together, and he always helped me when I needed stuff. And we just talk about football all the time with my family, so it was really cool having him around throughout high school. The team definitely supported us. We all stayed together and worked hard, and just knew that we were going to win eventually. And I don't know, I prayed a lot and talked to God, who was always there for me as well, and my family too. So transitioning to basketball was sad because I knew football was over, but Davis and Daniel and I and Kyler, we got like 2 days off, and then we went right into basketball. But I'm glad we did, because basketball's been really fun so far. The team is really fun, and we're having a decent year so far, so hopefully we'll keep going and doing well.
Following him, we have number 20, Jake Brock.
I love Radnor Park because there's so much life and surprise each time you come. There's lots of different animals and the wildlife, the birds are beautiful, and I love how the rangers have kept the paths up to make it easy for us to come and hike and enjoy the natural scenery. It's not spoiled by any means. So I love it. It's a great, just a manageable walk around the lake. Gets me enough exercise, and it's just always life-filled, which I love.
So in addition, I like the water because there's running water down one side, like you can hear it in the background right now if we're quiet. And then there's the lakes, and the paths go between the lakes. But then there's also a nesting bald eagle couple that when you get to the west side, you can look across and you see them in the eagle habitat. And sometimes they actually fly overhead, and it's really fascinating to see. So one of the things that, one of the rules here, which at first, when we first started coming, I thought maybe was excessive, but you notice once you come a lot, runners are not allowed on the trails, or dogs. And when it's busy, that makes a big difference because there's a lot of families and people walking, and if you keep having to move for people to run by, not that I have anything against runners, but it changes sort of the vibe of the park. And now everyone is just by themselves taking their time, and you don't have the exercise crowd.
I'm 73, so the first time I did it, I'm like, okay, I can do this, and I just love it. I love the solitude. I love it. I came around the ridge, and there was a whole bunch of turkeys and the deer. Yeah, it's just beautiful. In warmer weather, I try to come like 4 or 5 times a week. It's so beautiful. It's so quiet. I love going up in the hills. Make sure you know the hours the park is open because it's open 20 minutes after dusk, so you want to make sure you're finished by then. Have a really good pair of shoes if you want to do the high trails, but just going along the lake is really fine too. It's just really sweet.
My name's Donna Smith, and I am the general manager and a partner at Ray Products. We are a small manufacturing business in Mount Pleasant, Tennessee. We started in 1995, and I started the business with my brothers, took it over from my dad, and we manufacture spiral paper tubes and cores, which is, we started as mailing tubes. People would roll things up and put posters inside and mail them, and then it went to converting cores. And so people will take something that's manufactured that's flexible, like a piece of cloth or a potato chip bag. When those are manufactured, anything that's flexible has to be wound on a core. So we make big, fat paper cores. And we started really small, and we started with a couple people, and now we are 40 employees. And we have a 100,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Mount Pleasant, Tennessee. My jobs here are, I am over the office and customer service and the accounting. I initiate contact with vendors. I help set up new customers. I address any issues with transportation. If there's any customer issues, comments, problems, I get involved and take care of those, make sure everybody's satisfied.
My name is Todd Essig. I'm one of the principals here at Ray Products. We manufacture heavy paper cores. These are the centers for roll converting plastic films, nonwoven fabrics, and other synthetic materials. Often the materials that are wound on these rolls are very large in length and diameter and weigh hundreds of pounds. My role is primarily in a business development capacity. I go out, I meet with customers, I understand their application needs and what they are using these for. I bring that information back to the plant so we can design a product and eventually manufacture items that work well for their applications.
Hi, I'm Mike Essig. I'm co-owner of Ray Products. My role with Ray Products is primarily associated with the manufacturing side. So all aspects related to manufacturing of the tube, the raw materials, the processes, falls under my hats. I do the scheduling. I ensure that the tubes are run to the customer's requirements and see that the operations run smoothly. Some more of the recognizable companies that we deal with, one of those being 3M. We sell products to at least 3 of their facilities. One of their facilities located here locally in Middle Tennessee actually manufactures material used for N95 filter masks everybody's become so familiar with. Other aspects that we work with 3M, our facility down in Alabama, they make special reflective coatings and actually road striping tape that has reflective capabilities, so you can see it at night when your headlights reflect into it. Another large corporation is DuPont, also located here in Middle Tennessee. DuPont manufactures that blue kind of papery cloth used in surgical and medical applications, surgical gowns, surgical drapes. That company actually makes a sheet of material, continuous sheet of material, 12 feet wide. They wind it on our tubes, and then that material is transferred to another plant that unwinds it, cuts it into a mask, a gown, something to that nature, and is moved on to the end user. Another one of our customers is a company called Viscase. They're located in Arkansas. They make sausage and hot dog casings. So basically they manufacture a organic sausage casing, sell it to the packaging plants that fill it with meat or whatever they put in those things, and off to the end user it goes. Another one of our large customers is Dana Automotive. They're located in Crossville, Tennessee. They make drive shafts for cars and large vehicles. So they will manufacture their drive shaft, package it in our tube, and ship it off to dealerships and spare parts houses for the customer who requires it.
Waggy Tails Pet Center. It's one of the most successful dog training facilities in the Nashville area. The place can truly take your dog to their true impressive potential, but the people behind it are even more impressive.
I had a long dental career that was almost 40 years. My eyes started going bad because I developed diabetic. I had to find another career that I thought I would really enjoy, and it's something that I could choose. We built a kennel behind our house. That's how I started about 8 years ago, and never really thought much about it as far as how busy I would be or whatever. And I thought, well, if I could, watch 4 or 5 dogs, that would be all that I'd want. Well, the last year that I was at home, we were having, on average, 60 a day. So we outgrew our home. We went from 3,000 square feet to over 12,000 feet now. So we're much larger than when I started thinking 5 dogs would be enough. We get dogs in from word of mouth. People, tell about the place. We take on boarding, which they stay overnight. We take on daycare. It's just like a child going to daycare, but it's dogs.
Charlie and the whole staff have done wonders in training the toughest dogs.
Our dogs get amazing treatment when they go to Waggy Tails. They offer grooming. They always come back clean and happy and well fed. I feel like it's well named Waggy Tails because the dogs always are happy when we pick them up. Our dogs actually love the owner so much that there have been times where we just have to pick them up and tell them it's time to leave because they would play with the owner all day long. I would rate our experience with Waggy Tails a 10 out of 10. The facilities were amazing. Both dogs, they had a 14-foot kennel that they were able to run. Plus their reputation is impeccable. The staff there loves dogs.
My dog, Molly, she's a Belgian Malinois, and I acquired her last year. She's 8 months old now, and I've never trained a working dog. There's a difference between working dogs and pets. Working dogs are like your police canines, narcotic, your working breed of dogs. And Belgian Malinois are known to be very intelligent, very easy to train.
Yep. Sit. Good. Down. Good. She's trained to stay there for whatever reason you need. Come. This is one way we do it. Molly climb. Molly sit. Good. So you see the narrow platform where she has to stay precise. If she doesn't, she'll fall off. Molly down.
I think in 2014 is when I started. With about really the only knowledge I had was I love dogs, and I just knew I'd keep them as good as you would. So I'd love on them, and it just grew from there. From there, we acquired the kennel on 96. Not that we were looking to expand, but we were turning so many dogs away and people away that we needed to expand. Not that we wanted to. We had 4,000 square feet off Columbia Avenue. We came to 96 Murfreesboro Road in Franklin, right behind the Williamson County Animal Hospital. We have enough space to accommodate those people we were turning away. And I expanded my training area at least fivefold. So we have almost 3 acres of ground that we can actually work the dogs outside as well. So as far as expanding the business, it's doing it on its own. You know, we love all these dogs and love the training. So it's naturally doing it. So we're just kind of waiting to see what happens next.
Conservation Center is a nonprofit based in Middle Tennessee.
So the main purpose, we have 3 different purposes: to educate, coexist, and rehab wildlife. So we educate the population through free programming, through nature centers, or we work with Metro Nashville schools, or just different organizations that want us to come and support them. We also work to coexist with wildlife, so we spread information about ways that you can coexist with wildlife in urban settings instead of having them like exterminated and stuff like that. And then we also rehab different animals. So our main rehab right now is turtles, but we do all sorts of animals, birds, small mammals, possums, kind of anything that can get hit by a car pretty much.
The National Wildlife Conservation Center was founded on 3 basic principles.
So it just depends on what's happened to the animal. If we want to like focus on turtles, a lot of times they've been hit by a car, they've been run over with a lawnmower, or one of the big deals that people don't really think about is using like pesticides or herbicides in your yard, and it gives them infections and causes different issues. They have different responses to it. So it just depends on what happens. Anyone can call us with a turtle, and our CEO, Debbie Sykes, she has the property where you can take the turtle. We have a little hospital center, and just depending on what happened to the turtle depends on what the next steps are. But it's always assessment of what's going on, and then treatment depending on what the case is. So sometimes we have to take it to the vet to get x-rays or to figure out what's going on, but a lot of times we can just treat it there and help feed it and allow it to heal in a safe space.
The nonprofit was founded in February of 2015.
So I started with my friend Debbie. She's the CEO. She does all the work. And we worked together at Winter Park Nature Center when I was just graduating college. And this was just a dream of Debbie. She's always wanted to rehab animals. She has a lot of experience with this. She worked with Walden's Puddle in Jolton, which is a rehabilitation center. And I volunteered there some too in college. And it was just something that was really meaningful to us. And Debbie needed help, so I jumped in to help her.
Concerned citizens in Tennessee want to see animals live and thrive after being hurt.
Like, saving the injured animals is really helping them survive because they'd probably die without it. But like, it's just really important because it's like, think about it this way, like if one of your family members were hurt in the wilderness, they'd be dead. But if you help them, they can still be in your family.
Managing a nonprofit on top of working other jobs can be very intensive.
So when I first started this, I was working in parks, which is a much less time-involved field of work. So when I became a teacher, I really have had to take steps back from the nonprofit.
People around the community can help the National Wildlife Conservation.
So we're always looking for volunteers. So if you go to our website, NashvilleWildlifeConservation.org, you can apply to be a volunteer. We're always looking for donations. We have an Amazon Smile account. We have an Amazon wish list, and are always looking for produce for the animals, food for the animals, bedding and stuff like that. And you can also help with like education side of it. We have interns that help with our radio telemetry program for the turtles, where we track them and see how they're doing after we treat them and help them recover. And so there's a bunch of different things that you can do depending on what your interests are, but we can use any help that you want to get.
To learn more about volunteering for the National Wildlife Conservation Center, visit www.nationalwildlifeconservation.org.